Hi, my name is Charlie Olson.
Hello, my name is John Duffy.
Welcome to the Environment TV. This is our weekly news show.
In the short time that we have with you right now,
there are more environmental topics than we can cover.
But we would like to touch on topics that are most interest to you.
And it's possible to do that, but only if we have your help.
So, if there's a particular story of interest to you,
contact us.
Or research and write about it.
Or Skype. Or send us an audio news report from wherever you are.
We hope to shed some light on many environmental issues.
And hope that you can join us.
So please
sit back now and watch this week's weekly news show. Thank you.
Welcome to the Environment TV Weekly News. In a recent interview with Antoine James of the Charlotte Environmental Action Group, we spoke about their recent protest against Duke Energy. They called it, "Duke Energy, stop acting like toddlers and clean up your mess."
My name is Antoine James, and I'm a part of Charlotte Environmental Action. And pretty much, we were sitting in a group one day. We have not monthly meetings, but weekly meetings on Wednesdays at 7. And one particular meeting, one of the members brought up the fact that a lot of the news agencies are reporting that Duke Energy are not taking responsibility and, making reference to them acting like children and stuff like that. So the idea popped in his head, maybe we should do an action based around Duke Energy, really acting like children, and we dress up as toddlers. So, we bounced the ideas back and forth for a while until we finally got one that, everybody felt comfortable with. So what we did, we had an art build at one of our other members' house, Jimmy. That's usually that's like headquarters for art builds and stuff like that. So we went out there and did our thing. We got diapers and bibs and pacifiers and stuff like that. And we still didn't have what we were going to do for the day down packed. So the following meeting, we got together for a regular meeting, and everybody pitched in ideas on how the day was going to actually look. So we decided what we would do is the people who, we had 4 designated people who were going to be the official babies, and then if anybody else came, they could be extra babies or whatnot. So the 4 designated people, they decided to come up with different scripts because we were all sectioned off. Like I was North Carolina legislature. Justin Miller was what was Justin? North Carolina. He might have been House or Senate. Jimmy was Duke Energy itself, and one of the new members, Danielle, she was Diener, and Diener is the Department of Environmental something that's funded through tax dollars. So what we did was we all had our little scripts out, and then we made them up. The night before. And we went out there, and everybody sat down in a circle like we were in the playpen and had little toys and stuff like that. And Justin started us off with reading his script and talking about, things that people should be aware of. And it went around the circle. So Danielle went, then Jimmy went, then I went. And then Kathy Sparrow, she gave the formal address to the media of, taking the heed to, that the water quality is getting bad in Charlotte, and, babies and future generations are feeding off this water supply, and somebody needs to take some type of action, because the whole issue of it all is the fact that Duke Energy has these coal ash ponds, and they're not taking responsibility of cleaning them up, and they also try to pass the cost on to ratepayers after they've already received rate hike approval from other instances that they've had in the past. So it's kind of like they're double taxing us. It's we've already been taxed in one way, and then this happens, which is their fault, and they want to tax us again. So all that was a combination of why we wanted to try to call them out and pretty much say, stop acting like a toddler and clean up your coal ash.
What were the people saying as they walked by the protest? Did you get a chance to talk with them?
Well, a lot of people walking by and they weren't really too, I guess, too pleased that us being in front of the building. And some people they understood exactly what we were saying because, as everyone knows, Charlotte is off of pretty much like one water source, and it's not only feeding Charlotte, but it's feeding like outside areas as well. So if that water source gets compromised, then we're not gonna have anything to drink. And the whole thing of it, the fact of the matter is, Duke Energy cannot create water. It doesn't matter how many billions they make, they cannot create water. And we need to be taking that into account because Charlotte is a city that is on the move, and we're talking about bringing more and more residents here. And it's just not going to be conducive for anybody if we can't have any water.
Has Duke Energy done their job with the Dan River? Have they cleaned up the mess?
The Dan River, Duke had happily told the public that they have cleaned it up 7%. And, 7% out of 100% is nothing. So pretty much they haven't done anything, and the rest of the 93% is still sitting in the water, and people still drinking the water. They've even gone ahead and told the people that they could go back and drink the water. The water's fine, but yeah, there's still all this coal ashes in the water. So my thoughts are that eventually, like, people are going to continue to be sick, and it's going to, people going to continue to see health problems because they have not done what they were supposed to do. And another thing that people need to realize, Duke Energy on their website, if you go to their website, the mission statement, they talk about responsibility and accountability, and they should be responsible for whatever mistakes that they make and things of that nature. They wrote those words themselves, and they're not even following up to their own words that they've written. And you got a governor and city politicians that would rather coddle Duke Energy than hold them accountable. And we vote those people into office, so we're standing in their faces like, who are you going to be accountable to? Us, the voter, or Duke Energy, the corporation?
How many coal ash ponds does Duke Energy have in North Carolina?
It's a lot of coal ash ponds across North Carolina, and we've even seen a lot of these areas where the coal ash ponds, that the communities around them, the people are actually really getting sick. Like that, it's various cancers, respiratory illnesses, all kinds of things that are happening in the concentrated areas where these coal plants and coal ash ponds exist. And in Charlotte, in particular, Duke Energy has not only pushed coal ash in the ponds, but they've received permits for companies to dump boiler slag, cleaning solvents, laboratory waste. So not only is our ponds full of coal ash, it's full of other toxins that we have no idea what's going to happen when these things are like sitting there on top of each other, day after day, what the possibilities are. Now, not only that, it's right near our water table, and Duke Energy is claiming that, it's not going there where the water is, but unfortunately, water doesn't go in a particular direction. It goes horizontally, and that's in the direction. So that's one of the things that we keep on trying to let city leaders know, that we need to really take some type of action and not just depend on Duke Energy to write the script for us.
Duke Energy has a coal ash pond on Mountain Island Lake, right above Charlotte's drinking water.
It's Mountain Island Lake. Duke Energy has pretty much been able to get, I guess, in the ears of the right people, and they're reassuring them that it's not as big as a problem as it is, and we know that it is a problem. We've talked to the Catawba River Keeper. He's done a presentation to City Council.
Catawba River Keepers have said that the coal ash pond owned by Duke Energy on Mountain Island Lake is leaking.
Yeah, it's leaking. Yeah, they're saying, and it's like gallons and gallons a day, like more than. I'm pretty sure it's like more than 100 gallons a day, more than 100 gallons a day that's leaking into our water supply. So, and they're saying that they're doing testing on the water, and they're not really finding things that are detrimental to life. But I mean, I just don't see how that's possible.
So, what are you guys organizing?
Well, like we mentioned, It will be happening on September 19th and September 20th in the lead up to the People's Climate March on Sunday the 21st. And well, we want it to be different than your average conference. We want to have it be more interactive and more participatory. We're envisioning something with not only large speaking events with a different sort of leader, leaders from all over the world, but leaders of people's movements. We want large speaking events. We want room for people to share their skills, to have workshops, to propose a panel, and we actually right now on our website have a form that we are encouraging people to fill out to do just that, to propose a workshop, Skillshare, panel, whatever they can dream up, to be a part of this.
But I'm just wondering, as somebody organizing a counter summit to the United Nations, how do you keep it from being, okay, we marched, we won, the politicians will listen to us and they'll do what we want, because of course they don't have to. So how do you make them do it?
Well, how do you make them do it? I mean, really what this is about, you know, is some of building movements to call for some of the reforms that Pete was talking about that we need immediately. But what we're really hoping to gain from September 19th and 20th at the NYC Climate Convergence in the lead up to the People's Climate March is people building connections with each other. People building connections with each other across the country, and you know, we're bringing people in from all over the world. So to build those connections and take that back to where they are, and start organizing around the issues that affect their communities, but with the mindset that we're all in this together, and we can't just organize around single issues anymore. And that's why we've chosen the word convergence for what we're doing, because we want to converge and we want to come together. And we want to stay together even when we go back to our homes. We want to organize around the issues that are affecting our communities, but we want to build a unified people's movement that's about economic justice, environmental justice, social justice, and to have a planet to live on. We want our kids and our grandkids to actually have a planet.
My name is Eric Weltman. I'm a senior organizer with Food and Water Watch, a nonprofit consumer organization with offices in Brooklyn, where I work out of. It's heavily involved in the fight against fracking here in New York, in collaboration with allies in New Yorkers Against Fracking. We're a statewide coalition of over 240 organizations across the state.
Okay, and what are you presently doing at this time?
Well, Food and Water Watch is involved in an effort to build out our movement, to reach out to new constituencies, new allies, new organizations, new institutions, to educate and engage them and mobilize them in the effort to stop fracking and protect our water, our air, our food, and our climate from this extraordinarily dangerous gas drilling method. In particular, we've had a couple of wonderful interns this summer at Food and Water Watch. We've been reaching out to what are known as CSAs, community-supported agriculture, which is a really phenomenal arrangement by which a community, a neighborhood, a collection of families can make an arrangement with a farmer. It might be someone with a farm in Pennsylvania, New Jersey, or Long Island, or upstate, and they pay the farmer money up front, particularly over the winter. And then in the spring and the summer and the fall, these families get vegetables, fruits, other produce delivered to their neighborhood every week. So every week it might be a pickup at, say, like a church, typically a church from 5 to 8 in the evening. And as a consequence of them having paid sum of money up front, they basically get the best produce that's available at any given moment. So it's a wonderful, wonderful arrangement that supports farmers and facilitates access to fresh fruits and vegetables. And from our perspective, from Food and Water Watch perspective, it means that every week there's a set of families, people coming by that are concerned about healthy food, presumably about the environment, So again, Food and Water Watch has had some wonderful interns that have been going to CSAs around the city, Staten Island, Queens, Manhattan, the Bronx. I think I may be leaving out one. Brooklyn, how can I forget Brooklyn? Going to these CSAs every week and using that as an opportunity to talk to people about fracking, get petitions signed, share leaflets, and otherwise engage them in this extraordinarily important movement to ban fracking in New York.
About how long are you going to continue this campaign? This has been started since April, May?
Yeah, it started in the spring, and there's two things that are going on. First of all, as I noted, we're going to be present at the CSAs hopefully throughout the fall, but we're also Food and Water Watch building relationships with these CSAs that hopefully will bear long-term fruit. So this is not just like kind of a one-shot deal, though certainly again the opportunities to educate and get petitions signed are more extraordinarily helpful, but we hope to be partnering with these CSAs in the long term. And for example, we're now working with the CSA on the Lower East Side on a screening of a movie about genetically engineered foods. So that came about as a consequence of one of our interns, Lana, doing some tabling there a couple months ago. So most of what a movement is all about is relationships, and those can be relationships with individuals, but they can also be relationships with institutions like CSAs or churches or unions or political clubs. So that's again what this is all about, is Food and Water Watch trying to bring in some more of these CSAs into the anti-fracking movement over the long term.
And I guess they can call your organization to find out about
they
that.
Could call, or there's also another organization called Just Food. And one of their roles is to provide technical support to CSAs. So that's an allied organization also involved in New Yorkers Against Fracking, and I would highly recommend people go to the Just Food website or maybe send them an email if need be. But I think CSAs are a wonderful, wonderful, wonderful thing.
Anything else you want to talk to?
Yeah, I wanted to mention Food and Water Watch and our allies are involved in what we're referring to as a fracking reality tour on Saturday, September 6th, in which we you hire a bus leaving from Manhattan that Saturday morning and going out to the fracking fields of Susquehanna County, Pennsylvania, where we're going to give people an opportunity to learn, and see and even smell and perhaps even taste firsthand the impacts of fracking on our health, our communities, the environment. We're going to be led by Vera Scroggins, who's a resident of the county, as well as Isaac Silberman-Gorn, who's an ally of Citizen Action up in New York and Binghamton. And so again, we're going to meet families, meet individuals, and see the sights and the sounds of fracking and its devastating impacts on our communities and environment. So that's Saturday, September 6th, and folks can reach out to Food and Water Watch if they're interested in joining us on the bus that day.
Okay, and you've done this before, I presume?
We have done this before. This is going to be the third trip that Food and Water Watch has been involved with, but there have been literally dozens and dozens and dozens of such tours with state legislators participating, city council members, celebrities like Yoko Ono and Sean Lennon. So frankly, some of these folks are sort of used to being subject of tours, and there's getting they're interviewed all the time, and I mean it's obviously it's a horrible situation, but as a consequence you have some people who really are very knowledgeable, obviously, about the impacts of fracking, and frankly, very welcome to opening up their homes and literally opening up their homes to people and showing what the impacts of fracking are. So we're really blessed that there are some people there who are so generous with their sharing their suffering and their pain and their situation with all of us, and it's very edifying.
And other than Sean Lennon and Yoko and some of the famous people and the politicians, the regular people, the everyday citizens, have you noticed the effect on them through?
Horror, sympathy, did a bus tour a year ago with a church, a fairly prominent church, or representatives, leaders from that prominent church. And being on that tour, I'd say, was very instrumental in that church getting actively involved in the fight against fracking. So that is one of the hopes, is not only do we have individuals who join us who become more active and engaged, but maybe representatives from other churches, maybe some unions, political clubs, and what have you. So that's one of the tremendous impacts of these tours. Food and Water Watch had a meeting a few nights ago of New Yorkers against fracking, and someone was noting the horrific prospect that Governor Cuomo might consider some kind of pilot project in New York for fracking, and someone noted we've got a pilot project going on. It's in Pennsylvania. I mean, they're testing it. They're testing fracking in Pennsylvania, and it's a bus ride or a car ride away to see what its impacts are. So I think that again, with tremendous sympathy for the people of Pennsylvania, many of the people like Vera have been very generous in showing to us New Yorkers what this big pilot project in Pennsylvania has looked like, and we don't like it.
Do you know offhand if Governor Cuomo and his staff have been invited or have made a secret tour of any area in Pennsylvania?
That's a good question, but I don't. To my knowledge, they have not toured Pennsylvania. They're certainly not with Vera Scroggins or any of our friends and allies. But we're being joined this tour by Donovan Richards, who's a council member from Queens, who chairs the council's Environment Committee. And again, we've had plenty of legislators joining us in tours over the last few years. So there are a lot of elected officials who have joined us on these tours.
Have you thought of yourself, your organization here, you as a representative, of inviting Governor Cuomo or any of the leaders up in Albany, or the city council here?
That's actually, we are hoping that the Councilmember Richards will invite some of his colleagues. So maybe he'll issue an invitation to the governor. I suspect that Governor Cuomo may be otherwise occupied.
I guess so. Is there anything else coming up after these two campaigns, which I guess will...
This is, Food and Water Watch and New Yorkers Against Fracking are in this for the long haul. And so there will definitely be activities, events, opportunities in the weeks and months ahead. And I would just encourage your viewers to visit the Food and Water Watch website, visit the United for Action website, visit the New Yorkers Against Fracking website. I mean, there's a host of organizations, wonderful organizations involved in this effort. The Sierra Club, Citizen Action. So I would encourage people to get involved in whether it's Food and Water Watch or any other local group.
Okay. Is there any other things that you'd like to say at the moment?
Thank you, Charlie.
Right. Thank you, and have a good vacation.
I will.
This is Ken Gale for EnvironmentTV Weekly News. When the air or water are clean, thank an environmentalist. If not, become one. Enough said.